The next chapter, beta, standard costing. Were there any homework questions in the previous topic? Siri, what do you understand by standard costing, beta? So we have spoken about cost control and cost reduction, guys, in the beginning, if you recall, in the very first chapter. What is the difference between cost control and cost reduction? Cost control is, रौनक क्या बोल रहा है? Cost control, beta, is trying to stick to a target, trying to stick to a standard that has been set by the organization. Cost reduction as such, beta, is questioning the target. Did I ask you to come in? So cost control as such, beta, is wherein we are trying to stick to a target. Cost reduction as such, beta, is wherein we are questioning the target itself. Are we clear? Technique of costing, I told you, but in the previous chapter, tells us what is to be included, what is to be excluded from the valuation of inventory. Standard costing, guys, is both a cost control and a technique of costing. The primary objective of standard costing, guys, is to set standards for every element of cost so that we can ensure that whatever actual costs that are being incurred are within the standards. You do not send a benchmark, you do not send a target, but it will be difficult for you to stick to something. Just say if you have set a standard as such, better, that you're going to study for, let's say, 10 hours a day, only then you will be able to evaluate your actual performance. Without setting any standard as such, better, let's say we have studied for 10 minutes a day and you're like, we did a lot today. समझ में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है, guys? So there has to be a standard that is set by the organization. Only then there can be performance evaluation. If there's no standard, there is no performance evaluation. So if you say if your performance is good, in relation to what? समझ में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? So that is why we say that standard costing is what? A cost. It's not a cost reduction technique, guys. It's a cost control technique. Standard costing will not tell us ways to improvise the standards. It will only tell us how are we going to, and only implementing standards, guys, will not help us. Once we implement the standards, you're supposed to compare the actual performances with the standards and then also know what are the reasons for deviation. You have set a standard, guys, to study for 10 hours a day. You've studied for 10 minutes. Wouldn't you want to analyze what went wrong? Yes, or everything. Reels, beta, correct. 9 hours, 50 minutes, beta. Was a deviation there, nothing more. So, the objective of setting standard, guys, is also to ensure that we compare our actual performances with the standards and know the reasons for variances. Why is it also termed as a costing technique? Is once an organization implements standard costing, all the inventories as such, beta, will be valued at standards. एक बार organization as such, beta, is implementing standard costing, all the inventories will be valued at standard cost only. You will not be valuing inventories at actual cost. I've spoken about this even under materials, under different valuation methods, guys. One of the methods was standard cost. I said if you are implementing standard costing, then you can directly value the inventories, beta, at standard cost. Are we understanding this? Yes or no, beta? समझ में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? Now, though the name of the chapter is standard costing, guys, what we perform here is basically variance analysis. Our job would be to compute variances. Our job will not be to set standards. Standards will be given in the question. Setting standards, guys, is not an easy task. How do you think organization will set standards? हाँ बेटा प्रगति क्या बोल रही है? Based on past data. Let's say, beta, that in the past 1 week you've studied for 10 minutes a day. What do you think should be the standard that you should set for the next 1 week? 11 minutes. 1 second, beta. Faraz is answering something. Huh? Very good. How do they make budgets? Budgets में कुछ तो number लिखना रहता ना. वो कैसे? दो यार मिल बैठेंगे, शाम में पार्टी वार्टी करेंगे. हाँ. Set, they set target. Guys, why are you not understanding the question, guys? The objectives that they would want to costing की class है बेटा, SM की नहीं. Let's start with vision. Why directly coming to objectives? But I will start with vision and then gradually come down to objective. Monetary objective. क्या 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 बेटा? जैसे थोड़ा लाइट डालिए सर इसके ऊपर. हाँ. You always take past performance into consideration and also the efficiency at which the industry is operating. You cannot take only your past performance into consideration, because if you take only your past performance into consideration, most likely the inefficiencies that were happening as such beta are going to continue to occur. The objective behind taking the industrial practices into consideration, guys, is also knowing how the industry as such beta is performing or where can you improvise. So setting standards is something that the organization can achieve under the given operating conditions if they operate at the maximum efficiency level. Inefficiencies should not continue. That is the objective of setting a standard. We cannot only take past data into consideration because inefficiencies are going to continue. Are we understanding this, guys? Ideal standard बोल के रहेगा, current standard बोल के रहेगा. Ideal standard beta is the best possible that can be achieved. Organizations do not take ideal standard into consideration. They take something called as current standards into consideration, that is based on the existing efficiency levels. What is the best that the organization can achieve? You studied for 10 minutes, there is someone is studying for 16 hours. That does not mean we directly put a standard of 16 hours. Ideally, very good as such, but the organization might want to achieve that over a very longer period. Realistic standard as such beta would be something that you know that the organization can achieve. Are we understanding this? So that is the difference between current standard and an ideal standard. All the questions that will be dealing, standards will be given in the question. Our job will only be to compute variances and nothing else. Now, standard costing ka beta, another advantage is, standard costing ka guys, advantage is that it helps in performance evaluation. If you recall, we have learned about responsibility centers in the beginning. Do you remember responsibility centers? For the purpose of ensuring that work will be done as such beta at the right time, responsibilities have to be delegated. Work has to be delegated. I told you that organization, guys, works usually in the form of different divisions. It can be a functional form of organization or a divisional form of organization. You can have different product heads, you can have different division heads as such, guys. So in case an organization, irrespective of the form of organization beta, you will be delegating responsibilities. Based on the responsibility delegated, you will know how the performance should be evaluated. We spoke about cost centers, profit center, revenue center, investment center. Under a cost center, we spoke about a standard cost center and a discretionary cost center. What's the difference between standard cost center and discretionary cost center? Relation between, very good, better. Under a standard cost center, there's a clear relation between the amount of input and the amount of output. You know that if you have to incur an expenditure of 1 lakh rupees or such, guys, you can directly relate that expenditure to the total amount of inputs. Matlab, so and so amount of input will be required, only then you will be incurring the amount of expenditure. For a discretionary cost center like research and development or advertisement, there will not be any input-output relationship. Yes or no? Now, standard costing, guys, helps us in performance evaluation. For a cost center, you know that you will be able to evaluate performance by comparing actual cost with the standard cost kya hai beta is again being determined with the help of standard costing only. What should have been the cost that the department should have incurred and what is the actual cost that the department is incurring. For a profit center, guys, you will evaluate the performance by comparing budgeted profits with actual profits. वो profit कितना कमाना चाहिए था, again will be based on standard costing. For an investment center, how do you evaluate performance? ROI. You compare return on investment. क्या बात है यार, तुम लोग तो कुछ ज़्यादा ही आंसर कर दे रहे हो. हाँ. And then for a revenue center, guys, you directly compare the amount of actual sales with budgeted sales. Standard costing will help us in that performance evaluation. Are we clear? Not just in analyzing what went wrong as such, but in analyzing the performance of individuals as well. Now, as I just told you, beta, that there will be different forms of divisions or departments in an organization, everyone will be interested with a different responsibility. All right. Let's start with a very simple example to understand different types of variances. Organization has set a standard that the amount of quantity that you should be consuming on a per unit basis is about 10 kgs. The price at which you should be purchasing each unit of raw material beta is say 12 rupees. 10 kgs is the amount and 12 rupees is the price. We have manufactured an output of, let's say, 10,000 units. Standard के हिसाब से बेटा, what should have been the quantity of raw material that you should have used in order to manufacture 10,000 units multiplied by 10 kgs better, the total standard quantity guys should be 1 lakh kgs. What's the standard price at which you should be purchasing each raw material? What will be your total standard cost? 12 lakhs. The actual quantity that the organization ended up consuming, let's say beta, is 1 lakh 10,000. The actual price per kg at which the raw material was bought, let's say guys, is 11 rupees. What will be the total actual cost? 12 lakhs. The total actual cost that we have incurred as such beta is 12 lakh 10,000. Standard cost was 12 lakh rupees. Actual cost beta is 12 lakh 10,000. Is there a variance that is arising? Favorable or adverse? What do you understand by a favorable variance? What do you understand by an adverse variance? You increase the profits of the company, it is favorable. You decrease the profits of the company, it is adverse. When it comes to cost elements, you incur a higher amount of cost as such beta, obviously it would be adverse. If you incur a lesser amount of cost as such beta, it would be favorable. Here guys, we are incurring 10,000 rupees more. So there is a variance of, adverse variance of 10,000 rupees. What do you think went wrong? Two things. What are the two things? The price at which the raw material was procured as such beta is less than the standard. That's favorable. That's not adverse. You were supposed to buy the raw material at 12 rupees, but instead of buying the raw material at 12 rupees, we ended up purchasing the raw material at only 11 rupees. Yes or no, guys? The other part beta is the quantity. You were supposed to consume 1 lakh kgs of raw material. You ended up consuming 1 lakh 10,000 kgs of raw material. Did we consume less or did we consume more? We've consumed more. There's an adverse variance of 10,000 kgs. Different people are responsible for this. You cannot directly go and ask production manager as to why is there an adverse variance of 10,000 rupees. The production manager as such beta is not responsible for the entire variance of 10,000 adverse. Production manager can be questioned only about the consumption of raw material. Purchase manager will be questioned about the price of the raw material. Purchase manager will argue obviously better that I have done my job. Instead of buying the raw material at 12 rupees, I have purchased the raw material at 11 rupees. Because of my work, we are actually saving cost. Production manager will be questioned about the adverse consumption of 10,000 kgs. Yehi sab karte under variance analysis. It's not just computing the overall variance, it is also about knowing what went wrong in that variance, which factor is contributing to the variance. Where are we supposed to work on? Different story. Production manager can argue as such better that this purchase manager, in order to ensure that his performance evaluation is favorable, end up purchasing useless raw material, and that is why we are consuming more raw material. There can be interrelation between those variances, but you will know all of those interrelations or what went wrong only if you first compute the different components of the variance. You do not compute different components of variance, you will never know what went wrong. समझ में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? This is exactly what we'll be doing in the entire chapter. Our job will only be computation of variances. Are we all clear about this? Yes or no, guys? So types of variances mein beta, we have multiple categories. First, the first category beta is cost variances and revenue variances. Cost variances के नीचे beta we will have material variance, we will have employee cost or labor variance, we will have variable overheads, we will have fixed overheads. हर एक element of cost के लिए बेटा there will be a separate variance. Revenue variance is not a part of our syllabus, but we still have to do it because there's one question somewhere included later which makes reference to revenue variances. So, but actually it is not a part of our syllabus. The second type of variances, guys, is based on the impact on the profitability on the organization, that is favorable and adverse variance. When you say favorable variance as such, guys, it will obviously increase our profits. When you say adverse variance, guys, it will decrease our profits. लिख लो बेटा ये भी. And इसके अलावा there will always be something called as controllable and uncontrollable variances. What do you understand by controllable and uncontrollable variances? Anything, guys, which is within the control of the departmental head as such beta would be controllable variance. Anything due to factors beyond the control of the departmental head would be uncontrollable variances. Did we do controllable and uncontrollable cost in the beginning? Same explanation. The reasons for any variable expenditure variance. Variable expenditure, guys, can be your material cost, it can be labor cost, or it can be variable overhead. The reasons for any variable expenditure variance will always and always be only two things. One is how well are you utilizing the resource and how much is the amount of money that you're spending on that resource. Efficiency, that is utilization of resource, and expenditure, the amount spent on the resource. This will be the two, ये समझ में आ गया तो आधा चैप्टर खत्म हो गया. This will be the two reasons as such, guys, for your variable expenditure variance. I just gave an example of material expenditure in which, guys, the standard quantity for actual output was 1 lakh kgs. The actual quantity beta was 1,10,000 kgs. Standard price per kg is 12 rupees. Actual price is 11 rupees. You told me that there are two reasons for variances. One is the quantity of raw material. The other one is the price at which the raw material was purchased. The quantity of raw material that you are consuming explains the efficiency of utilization. Instead of consuming 1 lakh kgs, I have consumed 1,10,000 kgs. So there is an adverse variance of 10,000 kgs here. Is it adverse or favorable? अपन A बोल के लिखते variance के आगे. If I write A, it means it is an adverse variance. As far as expenditure variance is concerned, guys, it is 1 rupee favorable. 1 rupee per kg. Instead of buying the raw material at 12 rupees, we purchase the raw material at 11 rupees. कुछ भी कर लो, as long as it is a variable expenditure variance, this will only be the two reasons for the variance. How much money are you spending on the resource and how well are you utilizing the resource. Talk about labor. It will be how much time did the labor take and how much wage did you pay per hour. If the labor is taking more time than the standard, can it result in a variance? If you are paying a higher wage to the labor, can it result in a variance? Yes. It's always and always going to be only these two reasons. How much are you spending? How well are you utilizing the resource? But I cannot express efficiency variance as such beta as 10,000 kgs adverse and expenditure as 1 rupee per kg favorable. I will have to convert them as such, guys, into rupees. Efficiency variance is always and always measured at standard cost, which in our example beta is 12 rupees per kg. Expenditure variance will always and always be for the actual quantities, which in our example is 1,10,000 kgs. So my efficiency variance here is 1,20,000 adverse. My expenditure variance is 1,10,000 favorable. Overall beta it is, we already knew that the overall variance is 10,000 adverse. Yes or no? We're dividing that into two parts. How much is efficiency, how much is expenditure. नाम change होने वाला है हर जगह. It is not going to remain as efficiency and expenditure, but then the meaning will remain same. Just for material, guys, it is not material efficiency variance. Instead, we use the word material usage variance. How well did you utilize or use the material? Material expenditure variance बोल के नाम नहीं है, material price variance बोल के नाम है. How much is the amount of money that we have spent on the material? Are we clear about this? So your usage variances or efficiency variances are always and always measured at standard cost, and your expenditure variance will always be for actual quantities. Purchase manager का काम है to buy raw material. If you give them an instruction to buy 1 lakh kgs, they should buy 1 lakh kgs. If you give them an instruction to buy 1,10,000 kgs, they should buy 1,10,000 kgs. They will not argue that this is not the standard quantity. Are we clear, guys? That is why expenditure variances will always be measured at actual quantities. Any doubt in this part? ये समझ में आया नहीं आया? So guys, normally Devansh has only 2 cokes. On a particular day, he has 3 cokes. Efficiency or expenditure? Efficiency. The amount that is spending on each coke के साथ बेटा would be expenditure. क्या कर रहे हो यार तुम लोग? Normally the consumption is 2. On a particular day, the consumption increases to 3. That is efficiency. The amount that is incurring on a per bottle basis will determine expenditure variance. Let's say instead of buying it 20 rupees, he buys it 25 rupees. That extra 5 rupees as such beta will determine his expenditure variance. Are we clear about this part? Now, start writing the example beta. As per the budget, output is 50,000 units. Raw material quantity is 1 lakh. Example अलग है अभी जो पहले दिया वो नहीं है. 1 lakh kgs. Price per kg is 8 rupees. The total material cost was supposed to be 8 lakh rupees. Budget के हिसाब से output is 50,000 units, raw material quantity 1 lakh kgs, price per kg is 8 rupees and the material cost is 8 lakh rupees. Let's say guys that the actual output is 45,000 units. To produce 45,000 units, we ended up consuming 95,000 kgs of raw material. Each kg was purchased at 9 rupees. So what will be my total raw material cost? Better, एक second. 95,000. Each kg was purchased at 8.2 rupees. How much will be my raw material cost? 7,79,000. Shlok. Is the overall variance favorable or is the overall variance adverse? As per the budget, you were supposed to spend an amount of 8 lakh rupees. We are actually spending an amount of 7,79,000. Will the overall variance be favorable or will the overall variance be adverse? Favorable. Are you spending less or are you spending more? Why adverse? Very good, beta. You should never ever compare budgeted cost with actual cost if the output levels are not same. You want a higher favorable variance, एक काम करो, कुछ काम ही मत करो. Produce 0 units, guys. In that case, your material expenditure would be 0 rupees. You can go around and 10 people that I saved 8 lakh rupees for the organization. They were useless people planning to spend 8 lakh rupees on raw material. I did nothing for the entire month and I saved 8 lakhs. Can you do that? That is why, guys, they will purposely give us budgeted quantities or output in the question. Our job would be to determine standards for actual output. Using budgeted data, you will have to recompute something called as standards for actual output. All right. ये इसीलिए example दिया because I know that a lot of students make a mistake in this in the examination, guys. They will give you budgeted output. You are not supposed to compare actual cost with budgeted cost. You're supposed to recompute. Now, if the raw material quantity was 1 lakh kgs for 50,000 units, beta, what should have been the raw material for 45,000 units? Divided by 50,000 multiplied by 45,000. Our raw material quantity, beta, would be 90,000 kgs. Yes or no? Price per kg will not change, it will remain at 8 rupees. My total raw material cost will become 7,20,000. Now what is my variance? Adverse. 59,000 adverse. Your overall material cost variance was never 21,000 favorable, guys. It will now be 59,000 adverse. The first point that we learn here is what? Do not compare actual cost with budgeted cost if the output levels are not same. If the output levels are same, कुछ problem ही नहीं है, but the budgeted itself is standard cost for actual output. If the output levels are same, if the output levels are not same, you first recompute what should be the amount of cost that you should have incurred for actual output. Now, ये जो 45,000 kgs लिखे ना बेटा, नहीं सॉरी 90,000 kgs, इसको हम लोग बोलते हैं स्टैंडर्ड क्वांटिटी फॉर AO, actual output. Standard quantity for actual output is how many kgs? Then what is 1 lakh kgs? That is also standard quantity, but not for actual output, for budgeted output. The standard quantity beta for budgeted output is 1 lakh kgs. That is not relevant. Using that, you will compute standard quantity for actual output. They might give us budgets only to get the standard relations. Once we get the standard relations, you will use those relations to compute standards for actuals. Are we clear? Standard SP matlab standard price beta here. Standard price per unit of raw material. कितना अपने example में 8 rupees. What is actual price or actual AP beta? 8.2 rupees. And the actual quantity consumed, guys, is how much? Raw material ka actual quantity beta 90. I told you there are two reasons. One is efficiency, the other one is expenditure. Correct beta Ayush? When it comes to efficiency, guys, that is the utilization of raw material. How much did we consume here more? 5,000 kgs. These efficiency variances should always and always be measured at standard cost. Take it, beta Daksh. So guys, 5,000 kgs adverse multiplied by a standard price of 8 rupees. 40,000 adverse beta would be your material usage variance. When it comes to material price variance, we know that we have paid how much more? 0.2 per kg. That 0.2 per kg should always and always be measured for actual quantity. How much is the actual quantity here? 95,000. 0.2 per kg multiplied by 95,000 kgs, it will become 19,000 adverse. Overall variance is still 59,000 adverse. Are we clear? Material usage variance, which is what? On account of consumption, that is efficiency. The formula for this, guys, would be standard quantity for actual output minus actual quantity multiplied by standard price. We always write standard minus actual because if the standards are more and the actuals are less, it is favorable. If the actuals are more, it is adverse. If you get a positive answer, it is favorable. If you get a negative answer, it is adverse. Standard quantity कितना था बेटा अपने लिए एग्जाम्पल में? 90,000 kgs. What was the actual quantity? 95,000 kgs multiplied by a standard price of 8 rupees per kg. Because you're getting a negative answer, guys, this would be what? 40,000 adverse. Material price variance. Price variance, obviously I will compare standard price and actual price, multiply that by actual quantity or standard quantity. So 8 rupees minus 8.2, we have spent 0.2 more for a total quantity of 95,000 kgs. This is going to be 19,000 adverse. Standard price minus actual price multiplied by actual quantity. So that's 0.2 per kg more multiplied by 95,000 kgs, but 19,000 adverse. 19,000 adverse. Are we clear about this? Your overall cost variance, overall cost variance will simply be called as material cost variance. Material cost variance. ये compute करने के लिए you can either add material usage variance and material price variance, guys, or it is total standard cost for actual output minus actual cost. What was your total standard cost for actual output, guys? You can write that as SPSQ minus APAQ. 7 lakh 20,000 minus 7 lakh 79,000. That will become 59,000 adverse. Your overall cost variance in respect of material will be termed as material cost variance, and for that you will write standard cost for actual output minus actual cost incurred. That is standard price per kg into SQ. ये हमेशा SQ for AO लिखने की आदत डाल दो ताकि you should never go wrong in writing it as SQ for budgeted output. You're always and always supposed to pick it up for actuals only. Standard price per kg into standard quantity for actual output minus actual price per kg into actual output. Are we all done with this, guys? Yes or no? Any doubt in this so far? Yes or no, guys? Now, moving on to the next concept here. What we have just done is material cost variance being segregated into material usage variance and material price variance without yawning, guys. Now we will be segregating material usage variance into two parts further. One is sub-usage variance, the other one is mix variance. It's simple, guys. Abhi tak kya kiya is material cost variance, which is standard price into standard quantity for actual output minus actual price into actual quantity. This got segregated into two parts. One is material usage variance, the other one is material price variance. Usage variance compute करने के लिए it is standard quantity for actual output minus actual quantity multiplied by standard price. Material price variance would be standard price minus actual price multiplied by actual quantity. We will now be segregating usage variance into two further parts called as sub-usage variance and mix variance. This sub-usage variance and mix variance arises only if there is two or more types of raw material to be used. If there is a single raw material to be used, you will not have this segregation of usage variance, guys, into sub-usage and mix. Kab aayega ye sab? Only if. Now let's understand better that there is a product to make which you need two types of raw materials, raw material A and B. Standard के हिसाब से बेटा there will be a proportion in which you are supposed to mix the raw materials. You change the proportion, can the cost change? This is why these segregations come only and only if you have more than two types of raw material. Let's say as per the standard you were supposed to mix them in the proportion of 40% and 60%. In order to make 1 unit of the finished product, let's say you need 4 kgs of raw material A, 6 kgs of raw material B. Total quantity beta is 10 kgs. The standard price per kg is, let's say beta that raw material A is the one that is more expensive, it's 100 rupees per kg. Raw material B is a lesser expensive one, it's 25 rupees per kg. Okay. Now you have manufactured, let's say 100 units. To manufacture 100 units, what should have been the standard quantity? AO matlab actual output. To manufacture those 100 units, what should be the standard quantity, guys? Umang sun raha hai? Standard quantity for actual output beta would be 100 units multiplied by 4 kgs. That is 400. Dusra wala beta. This should have been the standard quantity. Let's talk about different cases. First case mein beta, you ended up consuming 200 kgs of raw material A, 800 kgs of raw material B. You still consume total 1000 kgs. क्यों करे? पैसे बचाने के लिए. Are we clear, guys? You go to a tea vendor as such, guys. He was supposed to mix, let's say 30 ml of milk ke saath beta with 50 ml of water. He mixed 2 ml of milk with 78 ml of water and gave you black tea as such, guys. समझ में आ रहा है बेटा? Yes or no, guys? You go to a nice club as such, guys. Full advertisement, 5 drinks at only 1000 rupees. बोल के 2 ml as such guys mixed with 100 ml of water and serving. You are not in your senses anyways. You do not know what are you drinking as such, but you're very happy that you paid very less. समझ में आ रहा है क्या बोल रहा हूँ मैं? Organizations can definitely alter the cost by changing the proportion in which the raw materials are mixed. What if you consume raw material in the proportion of 40%, 60%, but then you consume 480 kgs and 720 kgs. Total quantity of raw material बढ़ गया. Instead of consuming only 1000 kgs of raw material, we consumed how many kgs? 1200, but we are still consuming them in the same proportion. That is 40% and 60%. Third case, you consume guys 500 kgs of raw material A. You consume 700 kgs of raw material B. The total quantity that we've consumed is 1200 kgs. They are neither in the same proportion nor is the total quantity same. Correct, Beta Srinivas? Please understand now guys. The first case wherein we are consuming 200 kgs and 800 kgs of raw material A and B, there is no variance because you altered the total quantity of raw material. There will still be a variance because you have altered the proportion in which you have mixed the raw materials. Are you all getting it? There is no variance on account of the total consumption. पहले भी 1000 kgs consume करना था बेटा, even now you're consuming 1000 kgs only. But instead of consuming them in the proportion of 40%, 60%, we ended up consuming them in the proportion of 20% and 80%. We will have a variance, and that is on account of the proportion in which the raw materials are being mixed. In the second case, guys, there is no variance, guys, on account of the proportion in which the raw materials are being mixed. But there is variance as such, guys, on account of the total quantity of the material itself. समझ में आ रहा है? To make tea as such guys, you're still using the same standard proportions as such guys of tea and water. Instead of having 2 cups, you ended up having 5 cups. Can there still be a variance? Definitely yes. That is variance on account of total quantity. Third case guys, we screwed up on both the parts. There is variance on account of total quantity. Instead of consuming 1000 kgs, we are consuming 1200 kgs. Instead of mixing them in the proportion of 40-60%, but the proportion is slightly different. जो भी है. Are we clear guys? It is not 40-60. Sub-usage variance is on account of the total quantity of raw material that we consume. Mix variance is on account of the proportion in which the raw materials are mixed. Are you getting it? Sub-usage is on account of total quantity. यहाँ पे guys, in the first example that I gave you, there's only mix variance. In the second example, there's only sub-usage variance. Third example mein there is both sub-usage and mix variance. In order to compute these variances, I'll write the values again. Standard quantities were supposed to be 400 and 600,000. Standard price per kg beta was 125. Actual quantity, I will now start with the third case, which is 500 and 700. Actual price की जरूरत नहीं है. Whenever you're computing any variance under usage variance guys, it is always and always measured at standard cost. All the efficiency variances are measured at standard cost. Are we correct बेटा? वीर समझ में आ गया? So to compute this sub-usage variance and mix variance separately guys, we introduce a new term called as revised standard quantity. Revised standard quantity guys is total actual quantity but in standard proportion. If you would have consumed those 1200 kgs in the standard proportion, what would have been the quantities of raw material? 480 and now when I take a difference between standard quantity and revised standard quantity and actual quantity, ultimately if I add them guys, I will get SQ minus AQ only, which is my material usage variance. ऊपर material usage variance में क्या लिखे तुम लोग? Standard quantity minus actual quantity. Yes or no? Please understand this. This is standard quantity in standard mix. Yes or no? This is actual quantity, but in, am I taking difference in mix or am I taking differences in quantities? sub-usage variance. We are eliminating the impact of proportion. We are now trying to compute variance only on account of total quantity. RSQ क्या है बेटा? Actual quantity in AQ is obviously AQ in actual mix. I am not taking difference on account of total quantity. I'm taking difference on account of the proportion in which the raw materials were mixed. See, पहले वाले example में guys, I do not have to introduce RSQ because there is no sub-usage variance. Second वाले example में I do not have to introduce RSQ because there is no mix variance. जो भी usage variance आ रहा है बेटा, that is equal to a single component only. Only in the third example guys, we have both sub-usage variance as well as mix variance. This is where you introduce revised standard quantity, which is your total actual quantity beta in standard proportion. समझ में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? So what will be the formula for sub-usage variance? You will write SQ minus RSQ multiplied by SP. वापस SQ क्या है? Standard quantity. Is that always in standard mix? Definitely. RSQ क्या है? Actual quantity. But in once I'm done with this explanation, guys, we're good to go with the first 20 questions. ठीक है? Another 20 questions, chapter over. There's only one concept that I have to explain after this beta, that is fixed overhead variances, because it is not a variable expenditure. Once you're done with that also beta, chapter khatam. Are we clear? By the time you realize as such beta that ठीक है बेटा आयुष, sub-usage variance is SQ minus RSQ multiplied by SP guys. Mix variance is RSQ minus AQ into SP. You add both of them, you are obviously going to get usage variance, which is SQ minus SP. Standard quantity minus actual quantity multiplied by standard price. But वो सब छोड़ो guys. What is more important? Formulas भाड़ में गए for few minutes. What is more important as of now is to understand the meaning of the word sub-usage variance and mix variance. Are we clear about that? Sub-usage variance क्यों आता है? We ended up changing the total quantity. Yes or no? Mix variance क्यों आता है? You change the proportion. Are we clear? Yes, beta. Are we all clear about this now? Talking about case 1. Case 1 में guys, standard quantity. By default, when I just write SQ guys, it's always SQ for AO. All right. So how much is standard quantity beta? सब में common है 400 and 600. 1000. AQ कितना है बेटा? First case में 200 and 800. एक second बेटा. सुनो. Now when I introduce RSQ guys, it is total actual quantity guys, and what is the total actual quantity? 1000. This 1000 kgs guys, if I take in 40-60, 40% and 60%, how much will that become? We've already concluded guys that in case 1 there is no sub-usage variance, there is only mix variance. Yes or no? In case 1 there is no sub-usage variance, there is only mix variance. Sub-usage variance क्यों नहीं है बेटा? Because total standard quantity, total actual quantity same है. तुम RSQ compute भी कर लो and take difference between SQ and RSQ, you're going to get 0. Even if you compute RSQ guys and then take a difference between SQ and RSQ, you are going to get a 0 answer. Standard price लिखा था क्या ऊपर में? 125. So material A and material B guys, this is just for our understanding. Material sub-usage variance. Formula क्या है sub-usage variance का? देख के बोलो. Standard quantity minus revised standard quantity multiplied by, won't this be 400 minus 400 into 100? 0. This would be beta 600 minus 600 into 25. 0. Total 0. If I talk about material mix variance guys, what's the formula beta? RSQ minus AQ. इतना सर फोड़ी लेने की जरूरत ही नहीं है guys. When you already know the concept that you know that there's only mix variance, and whatever is the usage variance itself is your mix variance, क्योंकि sub usage variance वो है नहीं. Here beta I will write 400 minus 200 multiplied by, that is 20,000 favorable. 20,000, 2,000. 20,000 only, no? कौन है 2,000? Next beta, this would be 600 minus 800 into 25. 5,000 adverse, 15,000 favorable. We're getting a favorable answer because we are consuming less of the expensive material. We're consuming more of the cheaper material. That is how we're making the mix variance favorable. 400, 600. How much is AQ, guys? 480 and total kitna hai? Now, if I want to introduce RSQ, guys, what will I take? Total actual quantity in 40% and 60%. How much will be total actual quantity, guys, in standard mix? Same 480 and 720, which means I will not have material mix variance. I will have only material sub-usage variance. I repeat, there's no material mix variance, but there's only material sub-usage variance. Can you compute those variances? Formulas bar bar likho beta, it will be easier. SQ minus RSQ multiplied by SP. 400 कितना बेटा 8,000 एडवर्स है ना, और ये वाला 600 minus 720 into 25, 120 into 25 is 3,000 adverse. ये याद रखना guys, sub-usage variance, if one is adverse, the other has to be adverse. There is never a case where it can be favorable for one material and adverse for the other material. Mixed variance, on the other hand, is always opposite. If you consume more of one, you consume less of the other. So if it is favorable for one, it will be adverse for the other. Sub-usage, either both favorable or both adverse. Material mix variance, guys, it will be RSQ minus AQ into SP. यहाँ पे क्या हो जाएगा बेटा आंसर? 0. Total material usage variance is 11,000 adverse. Raw material A, raw material B, standard quantity is still the same, guys, 400 and 600. Total amount is 1,000. Actual quantity beta is 500, 700. The total amount is 1,200. So this beta will be RSQ 1,200 in. Exam में कोई ऐसे arrows मत करना, but it's just for your understanding now. 480 and 720. Raw material A, raw material B, and total, guys, material sub-usage variance would be SQ minus RSQ multiplied by SP. So that will be 400 minus 480 multiplied by 100, 8,000 adverse. This beta would be 600 minus 720 into 25, 3,000 adverse. Total 11,000 adverse. Material mix variance, guys, will be equal to revised standard quantity minus actual quantity multiplied by standard price. Revised standard quantity कितना है? 480, guys, minus 500 into 120, 2,000 adverse. Here beta 720 minus 700 multiplied by 25, this will be 2025 is 500 favorable, put together 1,500 adverse. Overall total, this will be the answer, guys. समझ में आया बच्चों? ये the overall variance is 12,500 adverse. Any doubt in this? Are we all clear about this? Can you quickly go through the formulas? But after some time I'll explain another concept. अभी के लिए इतना बस है. So yeah, sub-usage variance, guys, is also known as yield variance. कभी कभी they use that word. ऊपर लिख लेना. Sub-usage variance is also known as yield variance. Yield का मतलब होता है costing में output. In FM, yield means return as a percentage of market price. Throughout costing, guys, when we refer to the word yield, it would mean output. So when you compute yield variance, you're talking about the total quantity of raw material that you have consumed for producing the actual output. Third one, NXC manufacturing concern furnishes the following information. Material for 70 kg finished product is 100 kgs. So they've given us the input output relation as per the standard. For every 100 kgs of input, you will get an output of 70 kgs. They could have also told us that there is a 30% processing loss. 30% processing loss would mean better that if you're consuming 100 kgs of raw material, you will end up losing 30 kgs as per the standard, and the output will only be 70 kgs. They can use different sentences there. The price of material is 1 rupee per kg. The actual output manufactured is 2,10,000 kgs. The first thing that we do in any question, guys, of standard costing is compute standard quantity for actual output. That's the only thing that you will have to compute, guys. Actual quantity will be given in the question. It cannot be computed. So standard ke hisab se beta, what is the relation? If the input is 100 kgs, you should get an output of 70 kgs. We always compute standard quantity for actual output. You know that your actual output beta is how much? 2,10,000. You will have to compute input for that. And that will be standard quantity for actual output. 2,10,000 kgs into 100 divided by 70. How many kgs? 3 lakh kgs. Standard price per kg already given in the question. Kitna hai? Is actual quantity used already given? How much? 2,80,000 kgs. Did they give us cost of materials? That will be actual price into actual quantity. This is the actual cost beta. How much is that? 2 lakh. Can you compute actual price using this? 0.9. उल्टा कर रही बेटा तो समझ में आया नहीं आया guys? हो गया बेटा. You have standard quantity, you have actual quantity, you have standard price, and you have actual price. All you have to do is use those formulas and get the answer for those variances. Material usage variance will be equal to standard quantity minus actual quantity multiplied by standard price. How much is standard quantity? 3 lakh kgs beta minus this is 2,80,000 kgs multiplied by 1 rupee. So 20,000 favorable. Material price variance. Standard price minus actual price into actual quantity. 1 minus 0.9 into 2,80,000. That will be 28,000 favorable. इन दोनों का टोटल बेटा इज मटेरियल कॉस्ट वेरिएंस. क्या लिखना था मेरे को? हाँ, स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्ट फॉर एक्चुअल आउटपुट बेटा माइनस एक्चुअल कॉस्ट. Standard price into standard quantity for actual output minus actual price into actual quantity. 1 into 3 lakh और ये दोनों का टोटल ऑलरेडी दिया 252. 48,000 favorable. This will be the variances, guys. Material usage, material price, and material cost variance. Fifth question, beta. The standard cost of a chemical mixture is as follows. You will have to consume 40% of material A and 60% of material B at 20 rupees per kg and 30 rupees per kg. There's a standard loss of 10% of input. That means for every 100 kgs of input, output will only be. This is exactly similar to the previous questions that we did, but instead of mentioning that statement, they've given us the loss in percentage. For every 100 kgs of input, you will have a loss of 10% beta, that is 10 kgs, and output will only be 90 kgs. The cost records for a period showed the following usage. 90 kgs of raw material A was used, that is actual quantity of A. Actual quantity of raw material B beta is 110 kgs. Actual price of both the raw materials are given 18 and 34. Actual output manufactured, guys, is 182 kgs. The first thing that you will have to compute beta is standard quantity for actual output. Once you get standard quantity for actual output, guys, you will be able to arrive at all the variances. Kitna hai beta standard quantity? How will you compute? Standard quantity for actual output is always and always to be computed on the basis of actual output. Standard के हिसाब से, guys, there is a loss of 10% of input. Yes or no? If there's a loss of 10% of input, that means if the input is 100 kgs, your output should only be 90 kgs. What is your actual output? This is your actual output. If the actual output is 182 kgs, guys, what should be the standard quantity for actual output? 182, guys, divided by 90%, 20. This will be the standard quantity for actual output. Are we understanding this, guys? Actual quantity consumed is 200 kgs, which means your sub-usage variance will be favorable. तुम लोग instead of consuming 202.22 kgs, you have consumed only 200 kgs. Won't the sub-usage variance be favorable? Mix variance, we will see, guys. The actual mix is obviously not in the proportion of standard. एक बार ये आ गया बेटा, हो गया. You just have to write that table and start computing all the variances. RSQ, guys, is always and always total actual quantity, which is 200 kgs in the proportion of standard mix, 40% and 60%. So that will be 80 kgs and 120 kgs. That will be your revised standard quantity. स्टैंडर्ड क्वांटिटी को बेटा 202.22 kgs को डिवाइड करो 80.89 and 33 guys. Standard price per kg beta is 20 rupees and 30 rupees. Actual quantity is already given in the question, 90 and 110. So this will be 200. What will be actual price per kg? 18 and 34. And revised standard quantity beta would be total actual quantity in standard mix. That will be 80 kgs and 120 kgs. These are the values that you need, guys, in order to compute all the variances. You just have to present the table that we've done earlier. Start with sub-usage variance, that is yield variance, work backward and arrive at all the variances. Material sub-usage variance, guys. Standard quantity is 80.89. Revised standard quantity is 80 multiplied by 20. दूसरा वाला बेटा 121.33 minus 120 multiplied by 30. 39.9 favorable. दोनों का total बेटा 57.7 favorable. Material mix variance, guys. How are we going to compute? Revised standard quantity minus actual quantity multiplied by standard price. So that'll be 80 minus 90 multiplied by 20, beta 200 adverse. And 120 minus 110 multiplied by 30, beta 300 favorable. दोनों का total 100 favorable. This will be your material sub-usage and material mix variance. What will be your material usage variance? Standard quantity minus actual quantity multiplied by standard price. 80.89 minus 90 multiplied by 20 beta. 121.33 minus 110 multiplied by 30 beta. 339.9 favorable. दोनों का total beta 157.7 favorable. Then comes material price variance. That will be standard price minus actual price multiplied by actual quantity. Standard price beta is 20 minus actual price 18 multiplied by 19. 180 favorable. And here, guys, it will be standard 30 minus 34 multiplied by 110. 440 adverse. 260 adverse. Yes or no? Your material cost variance, guys, will now be standard price into standard quantity for actual output minus actual price multiplied by actual quantity. Standard price beta would be 80.89 multiplied by 20 minus 18 into 90, 2.2 adverse, correct? माइनस 34 बेटा इंटू 110, 440 एडवर्स मतलब ये हो गया 40.1, नहीं कुछ तो उड़ा दिया मैं, 100 पॉइंट, दोनों का टोटल 102.3 एडवर्स. This will be all the variances guys, please check. Material sub usage, material mix, दोनों का total material usage variance and then material price variance. So when you talk about material price variance guys, there are two accounting systems under standard costing. There's something called as single plan and partial plan. The point at which you're recording the variances will determine how much variance are we going to book. Let's say that the organization has fixed the standard price for raw material as 150 rupees, like the previous question. The actual price turns out to be 140 rupees. When you buy the raw material, are you aware that there is a variance? Forget when are you consuming the raw material, guys. As soon as you buy the raw material at 140 rupees, are you aware that there is a variance? If you are recording material price variance as soon as the material is purchased, it is single plan. You do not wait till the materials are consumed. You will end up recording all the variances as and when the variances arise. Usage variance you cannot compute as in when you buy raw material guys. Usage variance arises only when you consume raw material. Usage variance का कोई problem ही नहीं है यहाँ पे. Only price variance. As soon as you buy raw material, you know that there is a variance. Alternatively, organizations can choose to ignore recording material price variance at the time of purchase and record material price variance only on the amount of quantity consumed. They will record material price variance only on the quantity consumed. That's partial plan. The name is partial plan guys because you are not fully recording the variance yet. तुम्हारा raw material का inventory is still lying at actual price, not at standard price. Are you all following? Remember थोड़े दिन पहले बेटा I said there is material account, there is wage account and then there is overhead account. All of them will get transferred to work in progress. If an organization follows single plan, they will debit material account with only standard price. They will not even debit material account with actual price. They will record the variance as soon as the material is purchased. But if they follow partial plan, they will debit material account with actual price. Whatever is the quantity consumed guys will get transferred to work in progress and then they will record material price variance only on the quantity that is consumed. That's the difference between partial plan and single plan. So तुमको क्या याद रखना है? You do not have to remember the names of the plans guys here, accounting plans. All you have to do is remember that material price variance can be computed either on the basis of purchases or it can be computed on the basis of, if nothing is specified and we have details of purchases, material price variance will be based on purchases and not based on consumption. Abhi tak I did not talk about this point because there was never any detail given regarding consumed and purchase. Matlab consumption itself is equal to purchases. But if you have separate details given for quantity consumed and quantity purchased, what are we supposed to do? Material price variance will be computed preferably on the basis of purchases. Do you have that option for material usage variance? No. Material usage variance is always and always only on the basis of. So if AQ consumed is not equal to AQ purchased, actual quantity consumed is not equal to actual quantity purchased, is that better? Material price variance and usage variance. Usage variance, so guys, what's the formula for usage variance? Standard quantity minus. Up I will start writing the word consumed. Are we clear guys? It was always consumed only, it was never purchased. Material price variance के लिए standard price minus actual price. If details of actual quantity purchased are given, you write into AQ purchased instead of writing guys into AQ consumed. Alternatively, it can also be computed on the basis of standard price minus actual price into AQ consumed. But prima facie answer will always be based on purchased. We will write both the answers. But first we will write answer based on purchases and then write alternatively if it is based on consumption, this is the answer बोल के. समझ में आ रहा है? यूसेज वेरिएंस को अगर करे परचेजेस के बेसिस पे बेटा लाफा लगाऊंगा. समझ में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? Any bifurcation under usage variance, guys, should be based on AQ consumed. So RSQ is never based on AQ purchased. RSQ is total actual quantity in standard mix. Yes or no? Isn't sub-usage variance and mix variance, guys, bifurcations under usage variance? So here when you compute that RSQ, guys, it should always be based on AQ consumed. It should not be based on AQ purchased. There's no sense in comparing, guys, AQ purchased with standard quantity or actual quantity consumed. That is why this revised standard quantity will always be based on AQ consumed, that in which proportion? Standard mix. Are you all following? So the only thing that we have learned better is material price variance can either be based on purchases or based on, by default, preference will be given to if details of purchases are not given बेटा AQ consume purchase लिखने की जरूरत नहीं, directly AQ लिखो ना, काम खत्म करो. Are we clear? So if they give us details of purchases, you will write standard price minus actual price multiplied by actual quantity purchased. Is that clear, guys? Now, if material price variance is based on purchases, material cost variance is not equal to SPSQ minus APAQ. Common sense. कॉमन सेंस बोलते कि पहले हाँ बोल देते फिर सोचते अरे ये क्या बोल रहा. ये देखो गाइस, SQ SP AP AQ purchased. ये AQ consumed into SP into AQ purchase will not get striked out. इसके पहले there was no problem because both of them were AQ consumed only as such, but that will get striked out and you'll be left with SPSQ minus APAQ. Now you will not be left with that. So the only way of writing this beta is MUV plus MPV. Material usage variance and material price variance. You cannot use the formula SPSQ minus APAQ. How will you write material cost variance? By adding usage variance and price variance. We should be happy doing that because you always wanted to do that only, sir. Why are we solving again, bolke? But if you use that SPSQ minus APAQ, answer galat aayega beta, and it does not even make sense because one part of cost variance is based on consumption, the other part is now based on purchases. That is why you cannot use the formula. If material price variance is based on consumption, tum formula use karo, add karo, answer wahi aane wala hai because both of them are based on consumption. Are we clear about this? Yes or no? This is the last thing that we have to learn related to materials. Ho gaya pura material variances once we do this. So again, if details of material purchased is given, beta, what will you prefer? It's a question number 9, guys. They've given us details of raw material purchase. We will compute material price variance on the basis of purchases. Question number 8 may be better. They've given us details of purchases, but he gave the value of opening stock, which means he's expecting us to compute material price variance on the basis of consumption. Guys, agar material price variance is based on purchases, bhaad mein kya price of opening stock? Who cares about price of opening stock? I will need price of opening stock only and only if material price variance is based on consumption, because my consumption will partly be out of opening stock, partly be out of current month purchases. You will not need value of opening stock if material price variance is based on purchases. You will need price of opening stock only and only if material price variance is based on consumption. Are you all getting it? मतलब ये सिखाना जरूरी है बेटा, because you'll be like, sir, purchase के details दिए हुए ना, why are we not computing material price variance on the basis of purchases? We will not be able to do that. We are not expected to do that. Are we clear about this? Any doubt in this? Price variance is based on consumption, beta. Can you base usage variance on purchases? No. If price variance is based on consumption, you will write material cost variance. You can either write MUV plus MPV, or you can also write SPSQ minus APAQ. दोनों लिखो, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. Guys, question number 9 beta. JK manufactures NXC by mixing 3 raw materials. For every batch of 100 kgs of NXC, 125 kgs of raw materials are used. So per batch, input is 125 kgs and without meditation, output will be 100 kgs. One batch beta input is 125 kgs beta, output guys will be 100 kgs. Are we clear about this? In April 2008, 60 batches were prepared to produce an output of 5,600 kgs of NXC. Relax. The standard and actual particulars for the month of April 2008 are as follows. Standard proportion guys is 50, 30 and 20. Standard price is 20, 10 and 5. Actual proportion, थोड़ा ये पेज वो पेज बंटवारा हो गया देख के बेटा. हाँ. Actual proportion is 60, 20, 20, whereas actual price per kg is 21, 8 and 6. Actual quantity of raw materials purchased is given. ठीक है? That is not in the proportion of 60, 20, 20 because that is not AQ consumed. That is AQ purchased. What will be in the proportion of 60, 20, 20? AQ consumed will be in the proportion of 60, 20, 20 guys, not AQ purchased. Our job is to figure out how much is standard quantity for actual output and how much is actual quantity consumed. Once you figure that out as better, then the answer would be simple. क्या compute करना है पहले अपन को? Standard quantity and actual quantity consumed. Standard quantity for actual output is 7,000 kgs. बेटा ये जो 125 batches बोल रहा है ना वो, that should not be the basis to determine standard quantity for actual output. You should only concentrate on 125 batches, नहीं 60 batches जो भी है बेटा, समझ गए ना तुम लोग? As per the standard बेटा, अगर input 125 kg है, output कितना रहना चाहिए था? 100 kgs. That means to manufacture an output of 5,600 kgs, actual output, what should be the quantity of raw material? You should have manufactured only 56 batches. To manufacture 5,600 kgs, you should have manufactured only how many batches बेटा? 56. 56 batches कहाँ से आया? एक batch में कितना produce करना चाहिए था? 100 kgs. But तुम लोग वो नहीं कर रहे हो. You are taking more batches. That is why there is going to be a variance. Are we clear? तुम actually कितने batches use किए guys? The actual number of batches are 60. There is going to be an assumption here, and that is assume actual quantity per batch remains at 125 kgs. ये assumption next पे नहीं दिया हुआ है. You will have to assume that the actual quantity per batch remains at 125 kgs. How many are the actual number of batches beta? 60. What will be the actual quantity guys? 60 multiplied by 125 kgs. That is 7,000. The difference समझ में आ रहा है? Guys, you can never ever compute standard quantity without making reference to actual output. If you are directly multiplying 60 batches into 125 and you're telling me that that is the standard quantity, where the hell did we take actual output into consideration? Standard quantity is always and always computed on the basis of actual output. If you haven't considered that, it is not standard quantity. तुम्हारे हिसाब से standard quantity was 7,500. Did you not simply multiply 60 into 125? तुम लोग 5,600 kgs का लिए consideration में? That is incorrect. Are we getting it? Are we all getting it guys? Now how will you compute raw material wise quantities better? Obviously in the proportion of 50, 30, 20. That will be standard quantity. And actual quantity consumed के लिए it will be 60, 20 and 20. In this question, will you compute material price variance on the basis of purchases or on the basis of consumption? First preference is always given to purchases. Start guys. After this, you will present the given information in the tabular format guys, and after that you will start solving all the variances. A, B and C guys, we already have the standard mix. Beta, how much is the standard mix? 50%, 30% and 20%. How much will be the standard quantity guys for actual output? Total standard quantity beta is 7,000 kg. That in the proportion of 50, 30, 20 will be 3,500. 2,100 and 1,400. How much is the standard price per kg, beta? 20, 10 and 5. Actual mix, guys, is given as 60%, 20% and 20%. Actual quantity consumed, beta, that you need for all the variances is 7,000. This in the proportion will be 4,500, 1,500 and 1,500. Revised standard quantity, guys, will be total actual quantity in standard mix. Hi, na, guys. Total actual quantity is 7,500. That in the proportion of 50, 30, beta, 3,750, 2,250 and 1,500. These are all the values that you will be needing, guys, for computing material sub-usage variance, material mix variance, material usage variance. It is only for material price variance that you will need actual quantity purchased, which is 5,000, 2,000 and 1,200, and you will need actual price per kg, which is 21, 8 and 6. These are the details that are applicable in the given case, guys. First is material sub-usage variance. How will you compute material sub-usage variance? SQ minus RSQ multiplied by SP, guys. For raw material A, guys, it will be 3,500 minus 3,750 multiplied by 20, 15,000 adverse. For raw material B, beta, it is 2,100 minus 2,250 into 10 rupees, beta, 1,500 adverse. वो 15,000 ही है ना? अच्छा 750 नहीं बेटा, 250 into 20 है खदी. 5,000 adverse. रॉ मटेरियल सी का बेटा कितना हो जाएगा? 1,400 माइनस 1,500 मल्टीप्लाइड बाई 5 रुपीज, 500 एडवर्स, टोटल 7,000 एडवर्स. Material mix variance, guys, you will write revised standard quantity minus actual quantity consumed, guys, multiplied by standard price. So this beta will be 3,750 minus 4,500 multiplied by 20. 750, 15,000 adverse, and this beta would be 2,250 minus 1,500 multiplied by 10 rupees, 7,500 favorable, and this would be 0. 7,500 adverse. Once we get this beta, material usage variance. Material usage variance is standard quantity minus actual quantity consumed multiplied by standard price. Wrong, eh? 14,500 adverse. This will be material usage variance, guys. Material price variance के लिए बेटा you're directly going to write what? Standard price minus actual price into what beta? Actual quantity. 20 minus 21 into 5,000 beta, 5,000 adverse. 10 minus 8 into 2,000, 4,000 favorable. 5 minus 6 into 1,200, 1,200 adverse, all put together beta. So your overall variance, guys, will become 16,000. These are the variances, guys: material usage, material price and material cost variance. Gap Limited operates a system of standard costing in respect of one of its products, which is manufactured within a single cost center. Following are the details. Budgeted data. As per the budget, quantity of raw material A is 60, quantity of raw material B is 40, total 100, normal loss 20, output will be 80. Price is 20, 30. Actual data, actual output is 80 units. मतलब ये जो ऊपर का इंफॉर्मेशन है बेटा, that is for a budgeted output of 80 units. बजटेड डेटा के हिसाब से व्हाट इज द आउटपुट, एक्चुअल आउटपुट कितना है, so this itself is standard quantity for actual output. There's no need for you to recompute standard quantity for actual output. If this and this were not same as साथ बेटा, you had to recompute what should be the standard quantity for actual output. But the fact that budgeted output is equal to actual output, जो भी budgeted के लिए standard दिया हुआ है बेटा, that itself will now become standard quantity for actual output. Are you all understanding this? Material price variance is given बेटा for ब्रैकेट में A मतलब that is only in respect of raw material A. समझ में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? Material cost variance, it is not given whether it is for A, that means it will be for both A and B put together. So this is reverse calculation. You will start with material price variance guys and arrive at price of raw material A. Once you get price of raw material A, the only thing that will be missing beta is the actual quantity of raw material B, which you can compute using material cost variance. फिर पूरा आ जाएगा. Or better first, including those missing figures and rewrite the information later. Standard quantity for actual output is given as 60 and 40, 100. Standard price is 20 and 30. Actual quantity is 70 and missing. Actual price is missing and 30. Use raw material price variance guys of raw material A and get the answer. Material price variance guys of raw material A. The formula beta would be standard price of A minus actual price of A into actual quantity of A. 105 adverse मतलब negative 105 is equal to 20 rupees minus actual price of raw material A into 70. Minus 1.5 is equal to 20 minus APA. How much will you get APA as? 21.5. Material cost variance guys. Formula is standard price into standard quantity minus actual price into actual quantity. Now, standard price guys, we already know it is 60 into 20 plus 40 into 30. Actual price into actual quantity beta. Raw material A ka it is 70 into 21.5. Raw material B ka guys I do not know actual quantity, but I do know actual price is 30. All of this guys is equal to how much? Negative 275. You're supposed to use this relation guys and get the actual quantity of raw material B. Raw material B guys. Minus 275 is equal to ये 1200 and 1200 beta 2400 minus 70 into 21.5 beta 1505 plus 30 AQB guys. So you will get 2400 minus 1505 guys 895 plus 275 कितना आएगा? हाँ 1170. AQB guys will be equal to 39 kgs. Now you got all the information that you need guys. You can present that table again and compute all the variances. RSQ इसलिए table again. वो जो ऊपर वाला table बनाए ना guys, you will write it again. A, B guys, standard quantity is how much? 60, 40. Standard price is 20, 30. Actual quantity is 70 and 39. Total 109. Actual price is 21.5 and 30. Revised standard quantity beta will be 109 in the ratio of standard mix into 60%. 5.4 40. These are the values guys. Material sub-usage variance guys is SQ minus RSQ multiplied by standard price. Please stop talking. 60 minus 65.4 multiplied by 20 guys. 108 adverse. And then guys, 40 minus 43.6 multiplied by 30, 108 adverse, total 216 adverse. Material mix variance guys, RSQ minus AQ multiplied by SP, 65.4 minus 70 multiplied by 20, 92 adverse. Here beta 43.6 minus 39 into 30, 138 favorable, total 46 favorable. Material usage variance guys will be standard quantity minus actual quantity into standard price. 60 minus 70 into 20, 200 adverse. 40 minus 39 into 30 guys, total 17. Material price variance guys, standard price minus actual price into actual quantity. Standard price कितना है बेटा? 20 minus into 70, 1/0. दूसरा शून्य. Total 275 adverse already given in the question. So material sub-usage variance is 216 adverse, material mix variance is 46 favorable. Usage variance is 170 adverse guys, and price variance is 105 adverse, total 275 adverse. Did you all get these answers? Next side heading guys, labor variances. What doubt है कुछ? Labor variances beta. Is employee cost also a variable expenditure? होगा सर, क्या करना है हमारे को? हाँ. Is employee cost a variable expenditure? Yeah. Maybe or may not be. May not be. I'm not covering now. If it is, I'm covering now. All right, guys. Because as of now, we have learned only reasons for variable overhead, variable expenses, guys. I haven't covered fixed expenses yet. So if labor is a variable expenditure guys, how are we supposed to compute variance is what we are learning. Usme bhi guys, under employees chapter I told you that there are two wage systems. You can either pay employees on the basis of number of hours that they have worked for guys, or on the basis of number of units that they have manufactured. Yes or no? Time wages T into R, and piece rate wages wherein you multiply number of units with rate per unit. इसलिए तेरी बुक से कॉपी नहीं करता मैं. Number of units into rate per hour करते. मजाक कर रहा था. Sorry. Number of units multiplied by rate per unit guys. Are we clear about this? Now, if employees are paid on the basis of time first. I'll cover on the basis of number of units a little later. If employees are paid on the basis of time, again, there can be variances arising guys in the overall labor cost on account of change in efficiency. Let's say as per the budget, output was supposed to be 2000 units. The employees were supposed to work for about 4000 hours. And they were supposed to be paid a wage of 20,000 rupees, that is at the rate of 5 rupees per hour. Okay? The actual output that they have manufactured as such beta, let's say, is 2,500 units. To manufacture this 2,500 units, the number of hours that they should have taken guys was how much? As per the budget, 4,000 hours in order to manufacture 2,000 units. That is how many units beta? How many hours per unit? 2 hours per unit. Actual output is 2,500 units. So 2,500 multiplied by 2 hours per unit. How many would be the standard hours for actual output? Standard hours for actual output guys would be 5,000. What should be the wages for those 5,000 hours? 5,000 multiplied by 5 rupees. That will be 25,000. This should be the total wage. Standard rate per hour does not change. It should remain at 5 rupees. The actual number of hours that they have worked for, let's say beta is 6,500. The actual rate per hour, guys, was about 6 rupees. What will be the actual wages? 30. So to manufacture 2,500 units, we should have incurred a wage of 25,000. We have actually incurred a wage of 39,000. Is there a variance here? Yes. How much more money did we spend? 14,000. Our variance, guys, is 14,000 adverse. Yes or no? ये 14,000 adverse variance, again, as you have learned, the two reasons for those variances. Abhilash, क्या क्या reason है यहाँ पे? The employees have taken more time to manufacture the output. We have paid the employees more than the standard wage rate. If the employees have taken more time to manufacture, it will affect their efficiency, resulting in a higher amount of wage. That will be termed as your efficiency. यहाँ पे नाम ही efficiency variance है. जैसे yesterday it was material usage and material price. Today it is going to be labor efficiency variance. We are not going to write labor usage variance. Will not sound correct. That is our labor efficiency variance. Are we clear? Efficiency variance यहाँ पे कितना adverse है in terms of number of hours? Is it adverse or is it favorable? They should have taken 5,000 hours, but they're actually taking एक set of variances समझ लिए बेटा, बाकी सब you will be able to compute. मतलब the terminology will change, the end concept does not change. So the adverse number of hours beta here are 1,500. I told you the other day that efficiency variances are always measured at standard cost. Yes or no, guys? So those 1,500 hours beta you're going to multiply by 5 rupees per hour. On account of efficiency, guys, my variance is going to be 7,500 adverse. Correct, kids? The other reason why there is a variance is the amount of money that we are spending. The word for this is labor rate variance. Rather than terming it as labor price variance, guys, it is preferable to use the word labor rate variance. Sometimes if they use the word expenditure, stick to it. Otherwise, if nothing is specified, it's always labor rate variance. Labor rate variance here, is it favorable or is it adverse? How much adverse per hour? 1 rupee per hour adverse. Organization incurs wages, guys, for standard hours, or does it incur wages for actual hours? So expenditure variances will always and always be for actual quantities. I told you this the other day also. So this 1 rupee per hour will be multiplied by 6,500 hours. That will be 6,500 adverse. 7,500 adverse, 6,500 adverse. Our total labor cost variance will become 14,000 adverse. This is what we have concluded in the beginning. Unlike material price variance, labor rate variance mein consumption and payment cannot differ. It is not something that you store. Are we clear, guys? So there will not be any difference as such, guys, between the amount of consumption. Labor rate variance is labor rate variance. Are we clear about this? Of course, there can be idle time coming into picture. You are paying them for 6,500 hours, but what if they have worked only for 6,200 hours and all of that? But as of now, no difference between actual hours worked and actual hours paid. Everything is same. You will have to simply measure your total expenditure variance on the basis of total number of hours that you have paid them for. समझ में आ रहा है? Now, Kajal, तू formula determine कर बेटा. What do you think should be the formula for labor efficiency variance? Very good, beta. Standard labor hours. Instead of writing ST that I wrote, guys, in labor chapter, hereafter we are going to write SH. Standard hours for actual output minus actual labor hours. This will be measured at standard rate. Excellent, guys. So the formula for labor efficiency variance will be standard hours for actual output minus actual hours multiplied by standard rate per hour. Exactly like standard quantity for actual output minus actual quantity multiplied by standard price. The formula for labor rate variance, Isha. पहले वो वैल्यू कंप्यूट कर लेना, देख के उसके बाद में फॉर्मूला लिख लेना. How did we compute that value? If it is rate variance, obviously I will not take differences in hours, no. I will have to take differences in rate only. So that will be standard rate minus actual rate multiplied by actual hours. बोलो अभी work paid होशियारी नको करो. So labor rate variance, guys, both put together will become your labor cost variance, which will still be standard cost for actual output minus actual cost. That is SRSH, standard rate per hour, multiplied by standard hours for actual output minus actual rate per hour into actual hours. This will be the classification of variance. Labor cost variance, guys, being segregated into labor efficiency variance and labor rate variance. समझ में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? Any doubt in this part? Your labor efficiency variance, guys, is further segregated. When will this segregation arise? Vikas, when you perform one or galat jawab, get out of the class. Two or more labors. Obviously, do you think, guys, organization will work on one labor better? Together will? मटेरियल जैसे ही सोचा. करेक्ट सोच रहा है बेटा, बस थोड़ा एक्सप्रेस करते समय गलत हो गया. Two different types of, two or more categories of labor, not two or more employees. A simple example to understand this, guys, let's say if you talk about a consultancy firm or an audit firm, there'll be article students and then there will be qualified Asatbata, known by associates or consultants in different organizations. Senior consultants रहेंगे, senior associates रहेंगे, then there'll be manager or assistant manager in few organizations, manager, senior manager, director, Asatbata, and then partner. Will the pay scale of all the people be same? It's usually comprises of one project lead. There's a lead Asatbata who has an experience of about 5 years, who's paid a salary of 1 crore. And then there are about 4 freshers who are paid a salary of about 35 lakhs each. So this is the standard composition of a team. If you change the composition of the team, will the total labor cost change? Instead of having, let's say, 4 freshers, there were 2 project leads, such guys working in the team. Will the total wage will change? Yes or no? So how we had sub-usage variance, guys, and mix variance. Here we have sub-efficiency variance and mix variance. Mix variance arises when you change the composition of the workforce. So instead of having 10 articles, there were 5 articles but more assistant managers. Our wage bill is going, total number of employees utna hi hai abhi bhi. But we have changed the internal composition of those employees. That will result in mix variance. If the total number of labor hours itself are more, then it will be sub-efficiency variance. The composition of the team is still the same, but instead of finishing the task in 10 hours, they finish the task in 12 hours. That will result in sub-efficiency variance. Are we understanding this? There's another name given for mixed variance called as gang composition. अपनी gang का composition क्या रहना चाहिए था, क्या है? Are we clear, guys? They've used this word in the examination also, so you should know it. And sub-efficiency variance, even here, guys, is also known as yield variance. That name doesn't change. So to compute sub-usage variance and mixed variance, yesterday, beta Rudraksh, we have introduced a new term. What was that new term? To compute sub-efficiency and mixed variance here, what should be the term that we should introduce? RSH. What will be RSH? RSH beta stands for revised standard hours, which is total actual hours in standard composition or standard mix. You can use the word standard mix here also. He did not deny that, huh? Standard hours minus revised standard hours multiplied by standard rate per hour, guys. Standard hours are already in standard proportion. Revised standard hours are also in standard proportion. But one is total standard hours, one is total actual hours. So we are taking difference on account of total number of hours, but not on account of proportion. What will be gang composition? Multiplied by This will be the gang composition variance guys, or mix variance. समझ में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? Pretty simple, right? कुछ नहीं बेटा, replace Q with H, replace P with R. Same formulas of material will become your labor variances. Are we clear about this? Now beta, what if labor, is everyone clear about this? The next set, what if labor is paid on the basis of number of units? Chirag, how will all of these variances change? R की जगह पे भी R ही आएगा बेटा, पर R की जगह पर यूनिट आएगा. Guys, whether it is standard rate per hour or standard rate per unit, guys, R is R. R does not change. If labor is paid on the basis of number of units, how will the variances change? Anyone, guys? Who's answering? It will be same. Standard hours की जगह standard hours की जगह क्या बोला तू? There's nothing called as standard units here. So you say it is standard output minus? There will be excellent answer, guys. तालियां मारो रेवंदे के लिए. Yes, guys. Jain, have you been sharing your knowledge with him? Huh? No. Because when he answers no, he already thinks he's this beta. वो ऐसे ही बोल के फिर I am this, you are this कहते लोगों को बोल रहा वो. So, anyways, guys. पर हम तू ही बोल रहा था ना सबको. If labor is paid on the basis of number of units, guys, to hell with their efficiency. Whether they take 10 hours to manufacture one unit or whether they take 100 hours to manufacture one unit, I am going to pay them only for one unit. Is it going to affect my wage bill? It is not going to affect the amount of wages that you are going to pay if the labor. It's like this, guys. When you write an examination as such, beta, marks are given for the number of questions that you attempt. Whether you take 1 hour, whether you take 2 hours, will it affect the number of marks that you're going to score? It is not like if you sit for 1 hour, they will give you, जान दे बच्चा बैठा है यहाँ पे इतनी मुश्किल से बोल के, we will give them 0 marks. Marks are not given for the amount of time that is spent. Marks are given only for the number of questions that are solved. Let's say there are 2 employees as such, guys. One is Parth, the other one is Dhairya. Parth works for 10 hours, manufactures 10 units, guys. Dhairya works for 10 hours and manufactures 100 units. ऐसे क्या यार, हाँ. So, in the first case as such, guys, Parth ko you will be paying wages only for in the second case for Dhairya, you will be paying wages for unki efficiency. Is it impacting your wage in any way? No. The only variance that will arise better is expenditure, that is rate variance. Because there can still be a difference between what should have been the standard piece rate and what is the actual piece rate. But efficiency variances or anything under that will not arise. Your overall labor cost variance is simply equal to labor rate variance only. There is no labor efficiency variance. If labor is paid on the basis of number of units, not a part of our syllabus. It's not covered anywhere in CA final also, in CA inter also as such, guys, but you should know. Just in case they mention somewhere, अभी तक materials में covered नहीं है, they only say if labor is paid on the basis of time, this is how you compute variances बोल के दे देते हैं. But common sense, if labor is paid on the basis of number of units, you should know that there cannot be any efficiency variance. There will only be rate variance. Are we all understanding this? Any doubt in this part, guys? Sure, beta. Let's try. What if, guys, there's a difference between actual hours worked and actual hours paid? Let's say, guys, that employees were in the organization for a total of 6,500 hours. But then they worked only for 6,000 hours. They did not work for those 500 hours on account of certain factors. There can be power breakdown as such, power cuts as such, guys, machine breakdown, or whatever reason. They were there in the organization, but they were not able to work. That does not mean we do not pay them wages as such, guys. उनकी गलती नहीं है. If it is due to their fault as such, beta, they will not even be paid wages. If they are not being paid wages, it will not come as a part of variance computation only. It will come as a part of variance computation only if you are paying them wages. So actual hours worked, beta, let's say 6,000 hours. Actual hours paid is 6,500 hours. वही बाकी details बेटा. Actual rate per hour was 6 rupees. Standard hours for actual output, previous question, guys, 5,000 hours. And standard rate per hour was 5 rupees. How is this going to change our variances? फिर वो टोटल कैसे मैच होगा? अलग अलग ऐड करके लिख लेंगे. Correct answer, guys, but total will still match. In order to measure the efficiency of the employees, guys, you will no longer take actual hours paid. You will have to take actual hours worked into consideration. Let's say, guys, that you are working for an organization. You're in the office as such, better for 8 hours in the entire day. 7 hours you were not able to work because the laptop was not working as such, guys. You were able to work only for 1 hour. तुम्हारा manager आके चिल्ला के चले जाता है because the amount of work that you've done in 1 hour obviously was less. Is that the correct way to evaluate? No. They should be comparing, guys, what should have been the standard work that you should have done in that 1 hour and what is the actual work that you're doing in that 1 hour, rather than comparing it with the work that you should have done in the entire day. Yes or no? Whenever you're measuring efficiency of some person, it has to be based on the number of hours that they're working for. They can always be lost due to inefficiency, guys. That is not idle time. We're sitting in front of books as such, guys. We are thinking about someone else. We're studying. We're thinking about someone else. We're studying. Efficiency है ये idle time नहीं है. Idle time is when you're not working at all. Efficiency is we are working, but we are not working at the regular pace. That is efficiency. So whenever there is a difference between actual hours worked and actual hours paid, efficiency variance will always be based on actual hours worked. Rate variance will have to be based on actual hours paid. It cannot be based on actual hours worked. Correct, beta Bharat? How are you? What should you do? So labor efficiency variance, you guys just told me that you will compare standard hours for actual output, guys, with what? Actual hours worked. This will be multiplied by standard rate per hour. In order to compute, guys, rate variance, we will still take standard rate minus actual rate multiplied by. We introduce a new term called as idle time variance. And that idle time variance, guys, will be actual hours worked minus actual hours paid multiplied by standard rate per hour. Your overall labor cost variance is still standard rate per hour into standard hours for actual output minus actual rate per hour into actual hours paid only. समझ में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? You're dividing your overall labor cost variance into 3 categories now. Idle time variance is always going to be adverse. It's not going to be favorable. So efficiency variance will be based on actual hours worked. Idle time variance, guys, will be the difference between actual hours worked and actual hours paid. And then beta, your rate variance will be for those actual hours paid. ठीक है? अब्दुल्ला समझ में आ गया बेटा? There are certain international courses, guys, in which they divide labor cost variance into 2 categories. Revised efficiency variance and rate variance. Revised efficiency is segregated into efficiency variance and idle time variance. We do not use that word in the Indian syllabus, but we just say that overall labor cost variance is segregated into these 3 categories. Answer वही आने वाला है. Answer is not going to change. But they introduce a new term called as revised efficiency, which is the sum total of efficiency variance and idle time variance. The bifurcation of sub-efficiency and mixed variance is still under efficiency variance only, which means revised standard hours should be based on actual hours worked, not based on actual hours paid. Wherever we have RSH, you will have to take actual hours worked and divide that in the ratio of standard mix. Are we all getting it? So अगर actual hours worked is, अगर वो question में mention करता है ना बेटा hours lost or idle time, only then there is idle time. We did not work productively, मतलब idle time नहीं है. वापस बोल रहा हूँ, that is still efficiency variance. You are not supposed to bring in idle time variance there. They will use the word so many hours were lost or there was an idle time of so much. Only then you will introduce the word actual hours worked and actual hours paid. Are we clear, guys? लिखो बेटा सारे लेबर कॉस्ट वेरिएंस standard rate per hour into standard hours for actual output minus actual rate per hour into actual hours paid. पर हम सर करेक्टली लिख रहा हूँ ना, मतलब बोल दे कुछ गलती हो रही तो। हाँ तू मालूम है ना कौन है। labor efficiency variance, labor idle time variance and labor rate variance. क्या बोला था बेटा मैं? एफिशिएंसी वेरिएंस क्या लिखोगे? स्टैंडर्ड आवर्स फॉर एक्चुअल आउटपुट माइनस एक्चुअल आवर्स वर्कड मल्टीप्लाइड बाय स्टैंडर्ड रेट पर आवर। आइडल टाइम क्या करोगे? एक्चुअल आवर्स वर्कड माइनस एक्चुअल आवर्स पेड मल्टीप्लाइड बाय स्टैंडर्ड रेट पर आवर। रेट वेरिएंस विल बी स्टैंडर्ड रेट माइनस एक्चुअल रेट इनटू एक्चुअल आवर्स पेड beta. To overall wages that we are paying is still for those number of hours. ये efficiency variance के नीचे you will have sub efficiency variance and mix variance. This will be SH minus RSH into standard rate per hour, and this will be RSH minus AH worked or paid. Anything guys under efficiency will be based on AH worked only. It will not be based on AH paid. Are we understanding this? Anything under efficiency should be based on actual hours worked and not based on actual hours paid. RSH भी क्या है बेटा अपने लिए? It will be total actual hours worked in standard mix. Write down example guys. उसके नीचे सुन रहा ही नहीं ये बंदा ने को अभी सुना. Write the example guys. You just have to write AH paid, AH worked, AR per hours, SH for AO, SR per hour. ये detail. Are we all done with it? उसके नीचे लिखना शुरू करो बेटा. Labor efficiency variance पहले. What will be the formula guys? Labor efficiency variance. अब भी लिखा है बेटा. Standard hours for actual output minus actual hours worked multiplied by standard rate per hour. How much is your standard hours for actual output? 5,000. Actual hours worked 6,000 multiplied by 5 rupees. This is going to be 5,000 adverse. How much will be your labor idle time variance? Idle time is 500 hours beta. So 500 hours measured at standard rate. That is 5 rupees per hour. Idle time 500 hours है ना. 6,000 minus 6,500 multiplied by 5 rupees per hour. 2,500 adverse. अब ये हो गया पुराना क्वेश्चन जैसे. दोनों का टोटल विल बी द एफिशिएंसी वेरिएंस दैट वी गॉट इन द प्रीवियस क्वेश्चन 7,500. आफ्टर दिस कम्स लेबर रेट वेरिएंस. लेबर रेट वेरिएंस गाइस विल बी स्टैंडर्ड रेट माइनस एक्चुअल रेट मल्टीप्लाइड बाय एक्चुअल आवर्स 5 minus 6 into 6,500. 6,500 adverse. Overall variance is still 14,000 adverse. अगर एक्चुअल रेट पर आवर बेटा पॉइंट्स में आता है ना, यू शुड नेवर राइट दैट. यू शुड जस्ट राइट AR इंटू AH का टोटल. देयर विल बी नो अप्रोक्सीमेशन एरर. व्हाट्स द फॉर्मूला फॉर रेट वेरिएंस? सुनो सब लोग. SR माइनस AR इंटू AH. I will split the term and write SR into AH minus AR into AH. In place of this, I will write the total actual wages. यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, यहाँ पे you're getting 0.4, बट अगर पॉइंट्स में आ रहा एक्चुअल रेट पर आर, डू नॉट राइट पॉइंट्स एंड रेस्ट्रिक्ट टू 2 डेसिमल पॉइंट्स और 3 डेसिमल पॉइंट्स. अगेन देयर विल बी अप्रोक्सीमेशन एरर. उससे अच्छा डायरेक्टली राइट total amount AR into AH की जगह, so that there is no approximation error at all. Are we understanding this? Question, beta 14 question, sorry. The standard output of product X is 25 units per hour in a manufacturing department of a company employing 100 workers. A statement like this would mean, guys, that if all the 100 workers collectively work for 1 hour, the output is going to be 25 units. So that 25 units is not per labor hour, it is per 100 labor hours. 100 people working for 1 hour, guys, is 100 labor hours. Are we clear, guys? The standard wage rate per labor hour is 6 rupees. In a 42-hour week, labor chapter में बोला था बेटा मैं, when they say in a 8-hour day or in a 40-hour week or in a 42-hour week, it means actual time, guys, that will be spent by every employee will be 42 hours unless otherwise given. Standard hours is always computed on the basis of actual output that you manufacture, guys. Actual hours will be given in the question. So in the given case, guys, every employee will be working for how many hours? 42 hours unless otherwise given. The department has produced 1040 units of X despite 5% of the time being lost due to an abnormal reason, idle time. 42 hours per worker is what you are going to pay them. 42 minus 5%, 39.9 is what they are working for. समझ में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? Every employee would be working for 39.9 hours. While the total amount as such beta that you will be paying them will be 42 hours. Stop writing for a minute and listen. पहला question है. यहाँ पे they did not talk about different categories of labor, guys. It is just that the wage rate per hour is different for employees. You will not assume them to be different categories and compute sub efficiency variance and mixed variance. जरूरत नहीं है. Are we clear? For that they will give a standard proportion and actual proportion. वो सब कुछ भी नहीं है यहाँ पे. अगर करीब भी ना बेटा, entire efficiency variance will be equal to sub efficiency variance because you will have to assume that standard mix is equal to actual mix. There's no point. You will get the same answer as efficiency variance. Now pay attention, guys. As per the standard, 100 workers, if they work for 1 hour, they will be effectively working for 100 labor hours. They should get an output of how many units? So for 1040 units, what should be the standard hours for actual output? Never ever write standard hours per worker, guys. Write standard hours in terms of total labor hours. क्योंकि तुम थोड़ी per worker variance compute करने वाले हो. Your variances should be for the entire organization, not for worker, guys. So you will write beta 25 units. एक second. 100 labor hours is what you should have taken for how many units? 25 units. So for 1040 units, how many labor hours? 4160. If you're doing it per worker, multiply by number of workers. 41.6 multiplied by 100 workers. Are we clear about this? This is standard hours for actual output. Remember, standard hours are always and always to be computed on the basis of actual output only. It will not be given directly in the question. You will have to compute it. Next. Actual hours paid per worker would be how much? 42 hours per worker. लिख रहा हूँ बेटा, एक second. How much is the idle time beta here? 5%. That will be 2.1 hours. How much will be the actual hours worked? 39.9 hours. In a week of 42 hours अगर बोल रहा है बेटा, that means every worker, guys, would be working for 42 hours. अगर वो idle time नहीं देता, would have taken directly 42 hours only as actual hours worked. If they wouldn't have used the word 5% lost, you would have taken entire 42 hours beta as actual hours worked. Now what will be your total actual hours paid, guys? It will be 42 multiplied by 100 workers. 4200 hours. 100 workers here, na? Total actual hours worked, guys, would be 39.9 hours multiplied by 100 workers, 3990. You got standard hours for actual output, you got actual hours paid, you got actual hours worked. It's just like the example question now. Correct, kids? What's the standard rate per hour? 6 rupees. Actual rate per hour जो है ना बेटा वो अलग है. Actual rate per hour. The question says, guys, it is 6.2 for 10 into 42. 420 hours. हाँ ना? It is 6 rupees for 30 into 42. 1260 hours. And it is 5.7 for 60 into 42. 2520 hours. Did we not compute material price variance yesterday, guys, for opening stock and for current month consumption separately? Can't you compute labor rate variance for these 3 hours separately? 420 hours के लिए I'll write 6 minus 6.2. 1260 hours के लिए I'll write 6 minus 6. For 2520 hours I'll write 6 minus 5.7. Are we clear? Or you can compute total actual wages also first and then directly write. Anything is fine. जैसे भी लिखना है लिखो. समझ में आया question? Yes or no, guys? How much is labor efficiency variance? Labor efficiency variance, guys, will be standard hours for actual output minus actual hours worked multiplied by standard rate per hour. Standard hours for actual output कितना है बेटा? 4160. Actual hours worked 3990 multiplied by 6 rupees. कितना है ये? 1020 favorable. And then comes labor idle time variance. How much will be labor idle time variance? It will be actual hours worked minus actual hours paid multiplied by standard wage rate per hour, guys. Actual hours worked with our 3990. Actual hours paid are 4200 into 6, guys. 210 into 6. 1260 adverse. Labor rate variance, guys, I told you can compute it separately for those many hours better. So it is 6 minus 6.2, guys, for 420 hours. It is 6 minus 6 for 1260 hours, and it is 6 minus 5.7 for 2520 hours. कितना हो जाएगा? ये 84 एडवर्स है बेटा, ये 0 है, और ये 0.3 मतलब 756 फेवरेबल. तीनों का टोटल बेटा 672 favorable. Can you add all the variances, beta? 432 favorable. This will be your labor cost variance. This labor cost variance you can also write as beta 6 multiplied by standard hours कितने थे? 4160 minus actual beta would be 420 into 6.2, 1260 into 6, and 2520 into 5.7. This will still give us the same answer. Actual wages beta are different, so you can write that also. समझ में आया सबको? Any doubt in this? It has actual hours and everything. Read the details of the 18th question. Pratham. Standard hours for actual output, guys, is 1760 hours. Instead of directly giving you that the gang has produced 1800 standard hours of work, guys, they've given us that if all the workers work for 40 hours, the expected output is how many units? 2000 units. But then we know that the actual output is not 2000 units. The actual output is only 1600 units. So as per standard, guys, what are the number of workers? एक सेकेंड सुनो रे सब लोग, सबके सब सुनो. The number of workers are 55, guys. Yes or no? To produce 2000 units, this is all as per standard. To produce 2000 units, guys, standard hours are, all of those 55 workers should work for 40 hours. 2200 hours. But what is the actual output? Why are we forgetting that standard hours are always based on actual output? 1600 units. So standard hours beta for actual output will be, if 2200 hours are for how many units beta? 2000 units. What will be the proportionate calculation beta for 1600 units? 1760 hours. Are we clear about this? This will be the standard hours for actual output, guys. Actual number of hours, question is very clear, guys, that in a week of 40 hours, in a normal working week, guys, is 40 hours only. Yes or no, guys? इसमें से idle time कितना है? 4 hours. क्या speed से मार रहे सुनो बोले तो? Proud of you guys. समझ के क्या करना है? So actual hours worked beta will be 36. So if you want to get actual hours paid, you will multiply actual number of workers, guys, by 36. If you want to get actual hours paid, you will multiply actual number of workers beta with. That's the answer. बस उसके बाद में once you get that table, guys, it's the same. अभी clear about this? Copy this beta. per worker है बेटा. अभी मैं ना actual number of workers से multiply करूँगा ना. वो जो है देख नीचे 40 10 5 उनसे multiply करके I will write 55 multiplied by 4 220 hours. ये सिर्फ पर वर्कर लिखा मैं, अभी नीचे टेबल में बनाऊंगा पूरा. क्या हुआ बोल? उसमें से माइनस क्या कर रहा है यार ये? गाइस 4 hours were lost मतलब all the workers put together नहीं, per worker 4 hours बेटा into 55. Our expert तो मुंह बंद करके बैठा. The standard number of workers, guys, are 30, 15 and 10. Standard hours for actual output, we have already computed, guys, that the total standard hours are how many hours? 1760. You will have to take them in the ratio. 1760 divided by 55 कितना है? 30. So 32 into 30, guys, 960 beta. उसका आधा, guys, 480, guys, and then 320. This will be the standard hours, guys, for each of the categories. सबसे मेन ये टेबल बनाना ही है, guys. उसके आगे फॉर्मूला तो इजी है. Standard rate per hour, guys, will be 70, 65 and 50 rupees. Actual number of workers beta are 40, 10 and 5 beta 55. Actual hours worked, you know that each worker is working for how many hours beta? 40 into 36, guys, that will be equal to 1440. 10 into 36 आता है ये. 5 into 36 180. This will be your actual hours worked, guys. So this will become how much beta? 1440, 1980. You want revised standard hours, you will take 1980 in standard mix. 1980 beta divided by 55 कितना है? 36. So 1980 into 30 divided by 55. How much is that? 1080. Next beta. Next 360. This will be revised standard hours. Actual rate per hour, guys, is also given in the question. 75, 60 and 52. How will I get actual hours paid? Actual hours, guys, into actual hours, actual workers beta into actual hours paid. 40 into 40 beta, it will be 1600. 10 into 40 beta 400. 5 into 40 200. Actual hours paid will be 2200. This is the table that you need. Once you get this beta, it is mere computation of variances after this. Nothing complicated. 1 minute. You're in labor rate variance. So then why wait? I'll start with sub efficiency, anyways. Labor sub efficiency variance is standard hours, guys, minus revised standard hours multiplied by standard rate per hour. Very good, beta. Proud of you. Stop talking, guys. Alright, beta. 960 minus 180, guys, 120 multiplied by 70, 8,400 adverse. 480 minus 60, 60, guys, 3,900 adverse. And 320, 40, beta, 2,000 adverse. So this will be 10,400, 14,300 adverse. Next beta is 360 into 70, 18, 25,200 adverse. 540, 180, guys, 65, 11,000. 700 favorable, 180, 59,000 favorable. All put together better. 4,500 adverse. This will be your labor mix variance. Labor efficiency variance, guys, will be equal to 960 minus 1440 beta multiplied by 70, guys, 33,600 adverse. This will be 480 minus 360 multiplied by 65, which will be 7,800 favorable. This will be 320 minus 180 multiplied by 50, guys, 7,000 favorable. All put together 18,800 adverse. Then beta labor ideal time variance. 1440, guys, minus 1600 multiplied by 70. 360 minus 400 multiplied by 65, 180 minus 200 multiplied by 50, 160 into 70, guys, this will be 11,200 adverse. 40 into 65, guys, 2,600 adverse. 20 50s, 1,000 adverse. 12 and 14,800 adverse. Finally beta labor rate variance after this, which will be standard rate minus actual rate into AH paid, guys. First वाले का group का beta it is 70 minus 75 multiplied by 1600, that will be 8,000 adverse. Second वाले का it is 65 minus 60 multiplied by 400, guys, 2,000 favorable. Third वाले का it is 50 minus 52, guys, multiplied by 200, 400 adverse, 6,400 adverse. All put together beta 40,000 adverse. This will be the variances. Please check, guys. Number of units produced and sold are given as 7,000, guys. Standard labor rate per hour is given as 9 rupees. Actual hours worked is 17,820. Instead of giving you standard hours per unit, they've given us, guys, labor efficiency ratio. We've computed labor efficiency, guys, in labor chapter. I told you how to compute efficiency both in terms of output as well as in terms of time. In terms of time, guys, labor efficiency ratio is standard hours for actual output divided by actual hours. So you know actual hours, guys, you know efficiency ratio. Using that you will be able to get standard hours. Labor efficiency ratio, guys, is standard time by actual time. So standard hours for actual output divided by actual hours. You know actual hours worked, you know standard hours better. 106.8% is equal to standard hours for actual output divided by 17,820 hours. 19,000. 031.76. So you can write approximately 19,032 hours. या फिर ऐसे लिख के continue करो. This will be the standard hours for actual output, guys. Now you know, guys, your total standard rate per hour, you know. और क्या मालूम है अपन को? Actual hours worked. You can use labor cost variance to arrive at actual labor rate per hour. What's the formula for labor cost variance? Standard rate per hour multiplied by standard hours minus actual rate per hour into actual hours. The total variance is 71,820 adverse, matlab negative. Standard rate per hour beta is 9 rupees multiplied by 19,031.76 minus actual rate per hour is missing. What are the actual number of hours worked? 17,820. इसको minus 71,820 लेके बेटा solve करो. How much is 9 into 19,031.76? 280 है बेटा, sorry. 71,280 adverse, so negative 71,281 minus AR per hour into 17,820 beta. So you will take 1,71,000 plus 71,000, guys, divided by 17,820. 13 point. आगे कुछ है या उतना ही है बस? 13.612 beta will be the actual rate per hour. How will you arrive at labor efficiency variance beta now? Standard hours for actual output minus actual hours multiplied by standard rate per hour. So this beta would be 1903.76 minus 17,820 multiplied by 9. 10,905 point favorable. 10,905.84 favorable, guys, would be your labor efficiency variance. What is your total standard cost? What is your total actual cost? Total standard cost will be SRSH, guys. 19,031.76 into 9 rupees. कितना है? So what will be your standard labor cost per unit? Divide this by actual output. Or you can also multiply per unit ka beta time and still get the answer. 1,71,285.84 divided by 7,000 units. Same way, guys, you will write total actual cost. Total actual cost beta is equal to how many hours beta? 17,820 hours multiplied by what is the actual wage rate, guys? 13.612. How much will this be? 0.84. What will be your actual labor cost per unit? You will write this 2,42,565.84 divided by 7,000 units. 30.65. Sure. 34.652 rupees, guys, per unit. Yes, kids. Alright, guys, let's take a break, beta.